Hello everybody, welcome back again to the channel. Today I thought I'd have a little bit of fun and I'm going to do my top 10 of consoles I'm hoping that Retro Games Ltd are going to announce next. This is just a little bit of fun. I'm not saying that this is what they would. It's not my prediction in any way. Although number one may be my prediction, to be fair. But this is more like what I would like to see. You know, if I could just ask them to do anything. And I just figured it would just be a little bit of fun. Not necessarily going to name specific models of consoles, although some will be, obviously. But obviously you had things like the Amstrad had different models, you know, so we don't want to, I'm not going to pigeonhole it in any way. Just going to talk about ones that I would love to see Retro Games announce. Maybe not next, maybe just like over the coming years, you know, hopefully a little bit of a fantasy list, and hopefully at least one or two of these might get made at some point. So without further ado, let's have a chat about it. Okay, the first one I was going to announce was an Atari, but somebody shared a link in one of the Retro Games posts that they're actually making, another company is actually making one. So I decided to take it off the list. This is, I'm going to show the link on the screen. It's from a place called Revive Machines, and they are going to make the RM800XL, and it says here this is not a replica but a new incarnation of the best 8-bit computer from Atari in 1983. It has a wonderful design, survives this day, still captivates a huge fan base, excellent technical capabilities, surpassed competitive products at the time of its creation. The RM800XL's transfer of the original design with all its fantastic features into the 21st century. It's a combination of tradition and modernity. Oh my god, that's a word I've not used before. At a level that's not been achieved by anyone before. And it's showing you a little picture of it here now. It looks pretty cool, that, doesn't it? And there's obviously a little look down at the keyboard. Looks like it might have a little digital display thing there as well, which is pretty cool. The RM800XL retains all the ports that allow communication with the environment. Cartridge, fully functional and compatible with the original socket. 2 controller ports there, 2 9-pin standard controller ports. 2 USB ports for connecting modern game controllers, which is very cool, I like that. Peripheral SIO, peripheral device communication port serial interface, 100% compatible with the original. PBI parallel bus socket. Monitor, a classic socket with audio and visual signal. A classic socket with audio and video signals. Oh my god, I can't speak today. Gotta put my teeth in. Obviously, there's an HDMI connection, a USB for connecting external memory, power in, and the power on/off button. And a few more close-ups of the console there. The interior of the RM800XL is based on a modern, highly advanced technology. The computer is powered by RISC and FPGA processors. Our engineers write code only in C and HDL languages. And obviously there's the original controller there, which looks pretty good. I'm not going to read the rest of it. Here we go. Oh, this last bit I'll read. Huge library of available great games still being developed, as well as utility programs, a guarantee of excellent entertainment for many years to come for the whole family. And we've got a few screenshots down here. And the RM800XL will be available to everyone very soon. This is the address of the place, and this is the company name. I can't guarantee that this is 100% genuine, but it certainly looks it, doesn't it, from what we're seeing on here. Somebody posted it in, I'll show you a screenshot of it. Somebody put it up and put the link up on one of Retro Games Ltd's posts. You know, it wasn't about necessarily the Mini, because Retro Games actually replied on that post, which I'm also going to show you a screenshot. They were talking about something to do with the Sinclair, and because people were kicking off saying, what is this new console, why won't you tell us, and all, you know, because you know what people are like. And first up we have the link there from a Remy Wiepolski. I'm sorry if I butchered that. You're still talking about other people's projects while another company announced this, and then they put a link. 3 people have liked it. Again, that's the only evidence I have that this thing exists. Is following that link, so whether it's genuine or not, I don't know. And then somebody else here, Adam JJ's put, right, how about some news though? I know you guys want to sell as much A500 minis, but, and Retro Games Ltd have actually come back and replied and said this post is not about us. Separately, we are working on our next product's packaging though, with a smiley face. So they've kind of made a little reveal there that they are working on the packaging, so I'm sensing it's going to be close, this announcement, which is why I want to get this video out now before they do actually announce it and ruin my video. but we may not have to wait too much longer. So anyway, that was that. So Atari got struck off my list in a way. But number 10 on the list, I have the Atari ST Mini / Maxi. I wasn't going to put an Atari ST on. I've never owned one, which is something that I'm curious about. But there are some exclusive games that never made it across to other computers on the Atari ST, so it might be kind of fun. I never wanted to own one when I was younger because I had my Amiga, and from what I've read everywhere, and I don't want to diss anybody who loves the Atari ST, but most people say the Amiga was the superior computer, and so I really didn't want to own both. I didn't have enough money to own both. Had my Amiga, that was enough for me. But yeah, there's some games. Looking down at, there's a list over on the Amiga board where they have actually listed some Atari ST exclusive games that never made it onto the Amiga. So there's a few games on there that I wouldn't mind trying, and I think it would just be nice to own this in some form or another. So yeah, I think that's not a bad addition to this top 10. So number 9, we have the Sega Saturn Mini. Again, I'm not saying that this is anything they're likely to do, you know, it's just this is a fantasy list, you know, something that I would like to see. I have some nice memories of the Sega Saturn. I owned one for a few years before I traded it in for something else. I don't remember what I traded it in for now. Possibly even PS1, potentially. I can't remember. I'm not going to say that for definite, but there were some nice games on this system, and it is a bit of a bugger to emulate, from my experiences anyway. RetroArch, you could do it on there, but some of the games are a bit hit or miss. Some of them run a bit janky and that, and you know, it might be quite nice to have this also in a miniature form, you know, just so that we can run some games without having to worry too much about how they work and stuff. And obviously you can still, every one of these systems I still want to be able to add my own games to, of course, so that's part of the experience as far as I'm concerned. Okay, next up, number 8 on the list is something, again, that it holds a lot of memories for me. It's one I've never owned, a BBC Micro Mini / Maxi. I think it would have to be a Maxi because of the keyboard, but again, it's another one I've dabbled with in emulation, but I've always found it quite difficult. I don't know, I used the Bebum, however you pronounce that, emulator, and I found it a bit hit or miss, but pretty good. But you know, I've just never really got on very well with the games. I find it quite hard as well to find instruction manuals and stuff like that online for BBC games, and that it's not massively supported in the. But again, I may have not looked in the right places. I'm not going to say you know, that this is not well supported in you know, emulation communities, because there might be a massive community out there that loves this. So, and I'll get abuse left, right, and centre, but I found it quite difficult to emulate. But I used to love this. Oh, I've got a bit of nostalgia with this because this was the first computer I ever used, as they used to have them in all our schools. Yes, I am that old. So this was the first computer they got in every school. And yeah, I think it would be nice to have a version of this. It probably would have to be a Maxi, like I said, because we would need a keyboard. Number 7, and you'll be surprised to see this low down, is the A500/600/1200 Maxi. I want one. I do think it would be nice to have one with a working keyboard, but so far I've played a few games on the keyboard, and literally it's taken me 2 seconds to plug my USB keyboard in there and do it. My keyboard is right next to my Mini as well, so it literally is unplug it from my computer, plug it into my Mini. It takes 2 seconds, and I've had no problems running it that way so far. So while I do want one, I think it might be nice to get one a little bit further down the line from the release of the Mini, because I'm still enjoying my Mini. I haven't run into too many problems. I'd like to see a Mini update, the Amiberry update, for a lot of you are saying that, and that would be nice. And maybe I would prefer that to a Maxi at the moment, just to get that update, to get that side of things sorted a bit more, and then maybe we'll get something else. And then we can have a Maxi further down the line, which I think would be nice. But they did say they're working on 2 or 3 options at the moment, didn't they? So maybe we can have the next 2 will be new products, and then we could have a Maxi as the 3rd, maybe. That might be quite good. Okay, the next one is a bit of left field, but an MS-DOS Mini / Maxi. Again, I think it would probably have to be a Maxi because of keyboard, but there's so many great MS-DOS games out there that, again, are very hard to get going on modern computers. There are ways to do it. I think everybody uses DOSBox, don't they, really, to run MS-DOS games. And yeah, for the most part, if you know what you're doing, it runs the games nicely, but it can be quite complex to use DOSBox. Again, if you've got enough knowledge, that's fine, but it would be maybe nice to have a plug and play option on old MS-DOS games. There's a lot of us that used to play games in the early 90s and that, you know, would kill for one of these. So yeah, I think, again, I don't see it happening, but I'm just saying, you know, if this is a fantasy list, that might be quite a nice option. Okay, number 5 on the list, I have Nintendo 64 GameCube Mini. I currently split these two. We still don't have Nintendo GameCube on Switch Online yet, which I'm sure at some point they're going to add. But we do have Nintendo 64, but it's been a bit hit or miss in terms of like the emulation side of things. So it might be nice to see a console do it right. I don't see any reason why they couldn't do it, one that does GameCube or Nintendo 64. I don't know if that's possible. Again, I'm not a tech wizard, so I don't know. But, you know, I thought I'd combine these two options anyway, as they're both Nintendos. Maybe there is a way to do both, or one or the other then, maybe, if not. But, you know, it certainly would be good. Both consoles have a very nice library, and it would be good to see some of these games on a mini console. Okay, number 4, I have Amstrad. I put down CPC 464 or 6128. Again, I'm not going to specify necessarily what model I want to see. Just would be nice. This would be a Maxi, obviously, because of the keyboard. But yeah, this is a computer that I've never owned in any form. Never had an Amstrad. Always had C64 or ZX Spectrum growing up, so I didn't feel the need to get an Amstrad as well. But I have played a lot of it in emulation. Again, it's another one I find hit or miss in emulation sometimes. I find the emulators quite clunky, personally. But I haven't spent a lot of time with them, so maybe that's it. Maybe just got to get used to them, I don't know. But I think it would be nice to have a Maxi version of an Amstrad. I know a lot of you out there want one. I've seen a lot of people, when I've asked which console they would like to see next, a lot of people have said Amstrad. Most people said CPC 464, to be honest. So I would like to see that too, and it's definitely on my list. Number 3, Sega Dreamcast Mini. I love the Dreamcast. Had one for a number of years growing up. Some good games on there, and it would be nice to see a mini version of that. Assuming that Retro Games Ltd cannot probably do Sega ones, because obviously Sega are bringing their own out, aren't they? So I doubt very much Retro Games will bring them out anyway. But I guess it's all a matter of getting the licenses for everything. So I guess if they can get it, they could bring out what they want, really, couldn't they? But yeah, it's probably unlikely we're going to see this, I know, but Sega Dreamcast holds a very special place in my heart, gaming wise, and the emulator is pretty good for that. The Redream emulator is pretty good for that, so it's not 100% necessary, I guess, when you can emulate well, but it's still, even so, there's still quite a few games it doesn't run, so it might be nice to see a nice mini version of that. Number 2, we have the PS2 Mini. I would flipping love it. I probably, for most people gaming from 2000s upwards, if you started very early 2000s, PS2 was definitely your, more than likely your machine of choice. And yeah, I mean, I could say PS2/Xbox Mini, because a lot of the games, you know, okay, there were some exclusives on either console, but I think if I had to choose one, it would be PS2. I had both. I have an original Xbox as well. Still got both, actually, and still got a lot of games for both, because you can pick them up fairly cheap now, depending on what you're trying to get. Obviously, you know, if you're trying to get something like Silent Hill 2, forget it. But I've actually got it, but it's a very bashed up copy. But I have that. But yeah, there's some very rare games out there still. But yeah, I think a PS2 Mini or an Xbox Mini potentially would be awesome, and definitely be right up there on my list. Okay, and my number 1, which if you know, I've talked about this before, probably you'll know what it is already, it's a ZX Spectrum. I would say Maxi. Again, we've got to have a keyboard. If you could do a mini with a working keyboard, that would be fantastic, because obviously the original Spectrum was only small with rubber keys, and that it would be great if you could get the rubber keys on it as well, just like for nostalgia's sake. Yeah, this was the first computer I ever owned in my house. I mean, my dad got us a Commodore 64 when we were younger, but it was like my mum and dad were divorced, so it was only at my dad's, so I only ever saw it like every 2 weeks. It was like, you know, it used to kill me only having a computer every 2 weeks. And but for one Christmas, my mum got me a ZX Spectrum, and well, me and my brother, and that was it. We had that at home, and yeah, it's just a treasure trove of memories for me growing up. You know, we used to always get up early, me and my brother, and play a bit of like Manic Mine or Jet Set Willy before we went to school, sitting there eating our toast in the morning and Marmite, and playing on the computer, often almost late for the bus, because we were like playing the computer right up to the last seconds. It was yeah, I would just love to see one done right. You know, I know there's been the Vegas come out, or, you know, it's not been rated very well by a lot of people, but Some people say it's a great piece of machinery as well, so who's to say, but I haven't personally used one. I would just like to see Retro Games Ltd do the same kind of justice they did to the Commodore 64 with the ZX Spectrum. That would be absolutely awesome as far as I'm concerned, and I think definitely would be my #1 pick. But any of them on this list would be good. Anything you can't think of as well, so you can think of that isn't on my list as well, would also be good. Maybe give me your top 10s if you want. That would be fantastic in the comments. I'd love to see some people's top 10s. I know people are giving me their individual selections, but try and give me a top 5 if you can't give me a top 10. Just try and give me a few choices that you'd like to see, because that would be amazing just to see the comparisons and see the things that I haven't thought of, because there's bound to be a few out there. I mean, there are a few contenders, things like I was going to put Dragon 32 on here, but I didn't know enough about it really. And MSX is another option, you know, that was going to make the list. So there's going to be some out there that I haven't even thought of. So let me know in the comments what your top 10 is, or your top 5, or your top 3, whatever you feel like you want to do. And hopefully keep on the channel, keep subscribed, keep the bell on, and I will try and let you know as soon as I find out from Retro Games Ltd, you know, via their various websites and whatever, what this next console is going to be, or computer, whatever you want to call it. And I will let you guys know straight away, and we'll have a little discussion in the comments again on that video about whether we're happy or not. Okay guys, thanks so much for watching as ever. Thank you for supporting the channel, really do appreciate it. I'll see you on the next video. Take care, have a lovely week. Bye for now.